Welcome to Nerd Sports. Today we're going to talk about the delicate and meaningful sport of cornhole.
I get down with some cornhole, man.
Yeah, everybody does.
But the fact that they have sponsored professional leagues,
That kind of amazes me.
right? And it's even a collegiate sport at this point now. And them dudes get serious.
Yes.
And they are dead on balls accurate, right? These dudes are putting spin on the bags, knocking other dudes' bags out of the way, or, they're arcing it with a spin so it grabs their bag, and when it, if it goes in the hole, it grabs their bag and pulls two bags down. I'm just like, what in the world?
Yeah. It's really, really, really strange when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, see, but when it gets to that kind of skill level, you don't want to play with those kinds of people because when you're playing cornhole, for me, that's a drinking game, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like, oh, you do
Like
things
golf.
to drink. Yeah. You get out there and it's like a beer a hole, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to lie. The last time that I honestly went out and played an earnest round of golf, I shot a 79. So I broke the 80 barrier. So I'm like, I'm okay. I was pretty torched that afternoon, because we got there pretty early. We hit the driving range, and then we loaded up our bags onto the carts, and we just took off. After we get to the first tee box, everybody cracks their first beer, and away we go. And it was great. It was a beautiful round. I actually had the opportunity to shoot a 76, but by the time we got to the 18th hole, man, I was a little
3 sheets to the wind.
I was a little less for the wear, and I three putted on the final three. It was embarrassing.
Anyways, we'll get into baseball, but basketball, the finals are happening.
Yeah, the finals are happening, and I thought for sure that the Suns were going to run away with this series.
Yeah, but the
Bucks are up 3-2, and it's
Yeah.
going into Game 6 tonight.
One win away from the NBA title.
Yeah, so
Have they even came close to winning anything?
I think Phoenix has won one, but I do not believe Milwaukee has won any game or any finals, any championship titles at all. I could be wrong on that one, but yeah. If it's necessary, they'll play Game 7 on Thursday. So it goes. So the series will shift back to Phoenix.
Oh, they did win one in 1971.
Okay, all right.
3 conference titles, 16 division titles. But that was all in the 70s.
Yeah.
Really.
So,
Well,
but that's back when men were men,
Yeah,
women could be women, and sheep were scared. So.
especially in Milwaukee. If anybody's watching from Milwaukee, I do not apologize, and I bring it. But all in all,
So far, everything that I've seen from it, it's been a pretty entertaining series. So, either way, to be honest with you, I think this NBA Finals, while it celebrates the mediocre teams, and I say mediocre, but you don't have the super teams. You don't have the Lakers. You don't have, you don't have the Brooklyn Nets in there. You don't have teams like the Warriors, or the Clippers. Well, the Clippers weren't a super team, but it's like the LA Clippers are kind of like Los Angeles area's JV team, so to speak. But
well, in football news, the Steelers signed former Charger defensive end Marvin Ingram to a 1-year deal.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think here as far as football news.
The only other, well, there's a couple of football news. Drew B tampered to make NFL comeback. Arm feels worse now than ever. So,
I'm talking about Drew Brees.
at any point. Yeah, Drew Brees.
Yeah, no, he retired. You know, he was
And
like,
did he?
yeah, yeah. I mean, after the playoffs, after the Saints lost to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers last year in the playoffs, I think it was the NFC Championship game, or not the NFC Championship game. It was the NFC Divisional round. Um, you know, that Fox was following Drew Brees off the field, and just before he walks into the tunnel, he puts his helmet back on. He turns and he looks, and it was like that parting glance. Um,
That
no,
last ride. type
yeah,
of
yeah,
glance.
that hey, it was a good ride. Thanks for the memories, kind of a deal. But you know, I think Drew Brees just kind of needs to stay away from the Joe Montana, uh, Brett Favre syndrome, and just kind of ride this one off into the sunset. Let the Saints uniform be the last uniform that he wears, because New Orleans is basically, they've moved on from Drew Brees. I mean, they're going to be thankful for the one title that he brought to the city, but for the most part, he just needs to hang it up. If anything, take a season off, spend it with your family, get reacquainted with your wife and kids, and then maybe 2023 season he needs to get an announcing job somewhere with Fox or CBS.
Wasn't there a football player that actually tried to get reacquainted with his wife, and it ended up being to where she just hated him?
You know, that might be just a little bit more common than you think.
No, that was just recently, I think.
Yeah.
I forget who it was.
Maybe, but I mean, anytime, man. Anytime that I look at like professional athletes, whenever they, during the off season, every marriage, regardless as to what your profession is, every marriage is going to have its ups and downs. You see this a lot with the military, especially. I mean, it's when you come home from a deployment or you come home from the field or something like that, and it just kind of seems like the home front has moved on without you. They've established their own pecking order, and then here you come back into the picture. There's always that adjustment period, but especially with deployments, that adjustment period is a little bit more painful than it needs to be, because depending on, well, I mean, and it's not exclusive to just Army wives or military wives, it's military husbands too. There's a lot of infidelity there, and
You have no idea. I almost made a gold bar from all the wedding rings I found in the bathroom when I was in deployment.
it wouldn't surprise me, man. It just there are some people in this world that are just not suited to the military lifestyle, and that's all there is to it.
Well, in my opinion, a lot of people get married really, really young.
Yeah.
And ideology, you would want like probably about 30, 33 when you get out of your.
Yeah, see, and I got married really young. So my first marriage, we were both young. We both made really dumb decisions, and our marriage unfortunately didn't work. But I'm one of the lucky few people that can kind of honestly say that 20 plus years after the fact, my first wife and I were actually friends. So we get along, we converse, and I mean, even though our kids are grown, we still have that friendship, because we both had a very long overdue heart to heart kind of a thing, and we both buried the hatchet and realized that while we take responsibility for our actions, we were both young and stupid. And you'll see that a lot, especially with the professional athletes. You get a lot of that money, and a lot of these guys, these professional athletes, they've got kids that were born during like their collegiate years or whatever, or especially football players or basketball players. That they'll have kids while they're in high school, kind of a thing, and they'll step up and they'll be like, hey, do the right thing, try to get married and keep that family unit intact. But the money and the prestige that comes with being a professional athlete, especially these first, second, and third round guys that get drafted in those those early rounds, they get those multi-million-dollar contracts as a rookie. And it just goes to their head. And it especially goes to the spouses' heads too, because they get used to that.
A lot of times it's just the notoriety when you go like to a restaurant or something like that, and then when they get divorced from that person and they try to go to the same restaurant, they go, oh, they don't give a crap about me now. So there's always that.
Yeah, and it is, and that's exactly right. But it's unfortunate that you see a lot of that, and I think that it's and I don't want to be wrong on this, but from a lot of what I see, because you don't really see a lot of that divorce news in the that those divorce headlines in the news so much anymore. So I'm really hoping that it's swinging the other way as far as that trend is concerned. So you know
Well, they got better news stories now because they're usually doing all the political news now, which is
true.
really sad.
Yeah, I mean, true. There's that, but at the same time, you're still, especially the higher profile athletes like the Drew Breeses, like the Philip Rivers. I mean, well, Philip Rivers is this dude. This dude, I'm telling you, he is he was a fertile individual. So there's that whole thing there. But anyways, moving on. So yeah, baseball news. There was a game in Washington D.C. between the Padres and the Nationals, and I believe it was the fourth inning, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, there was some shots that were heard, and they weren't exactly sure where the shots were coming from. So the players came off of the field, and uh, fans were being ushered out of their seats. Uh, Now, this is one of the few classy things that I will ever give Manny Machado, who plays third base for the Padres. The dude's he's a dirtball. It's just pure, plain and simple. I just think he's a complete douchebag. But
Oh, wait a minute. No, police say 3 people were wounded in a shooting outside the Nationals Park
yeah, so it was
that
outside.
sent players and friends scrambling during the game.
Right now, I'll Major League Baseball made the right call here. They evacuated the field and they emptied the stands as much as they possibly could. Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado, who both play for San Diego, opened up one of the gates by the team's dugout and were pulling fans into the dugout for safety.
Yeah.
That's a class move because at that point it's not about players versus fans. I mean, they're all human beings, and life needs to be protected. Pure, plain and simple. So they stepped out of their, hey, I'm a superstar athlete, and I'm just now being a decent human being. So they pulled fans out of the stands and were pulling them into the dugout for safety reasons and pulling them into that tunnel. Because at that point, you're erring in the way of discretion. You don't know exactly where the shots came from. If it's a gun that made it into the stadium, or if it was outside the stadium, nobody's taking that chance. So good on them. And I don't expect to ever hear anything positive about Manny Machado for the rest of the season because I think that was his one good deed for the year, hoping that he still can get into heaven. I mean, because as far as I'm concerned, Manny Machado, he's not deserving of the contract that he's got. He's responsible for ending the careers of a couple of different players because he likes to slide in dirty. Most notably, there was a singular play where he basically, for all intents and purposes, ended Dustin Pedroia's baseball career. He went into a slide into second base to break up a double play, but he went in cleats high and took out the knee of Dustin Pedroia, and he never recovered. So Dustin Pedroia retired from the game as a player. He's got an artificial knee, and he cut a very talented individual's career short. And it was one of those situations where he refused to take responsibility for it. Dustin Pedroia, without completely calling him out and saying, yeah, it was this play, during Dustin Pedroia's retirement speech, when he would, officially had his retirement ceremony at Fenway Park before a game, he said, I had a wonderful career with the exception of one play. Everybody in the park knew what he was talking about, but Dustin Pedroia, being the class act that he is, didn't want to call out Manny Machado for that particular reason. So, the for me, the singular defining definition of making things right in the universe. The final out of the 2018 World Series, where it's Boston versus Los Angeles. Manny Machado at the time was playing for the Dodgers. The Dodgers were down to their last out. It was Game 6. Chris Sale comes in to close the game, and the last pitch was, in what Chris Sale's words were, the hardest breaking ball he's ever thrown in his career. Strikes out Manny Machado, and he strikes him out with such ferocity that he basically took Manny Machado out of his cleats, and he went down to a knee. And if you look at the still photo of that final strike, it looks like he's spelling the word out, K, or the letter K, out with his body. So it was like everybody was just like, yeah. I mean, I can remember watching Game 6 with my kids and my dad, and when Manny Machado came up to bat, everybody in the house was like, this dude needs to strike out to end the series, because that would just be great. I mean, that would just be justice right there. And Chris Sale got the job done. But moving on from that, it was Red Sox-Yankees weekend. Yankees managed to actually take 2 games out of the 3 scheduled games. It was actually supposed to be a 4-game series, but the first game on Thursday got rained out, postponed. They're going to make that game up, I think, next month. But the first game, the Yankees managed to win a 6-inning rain-shortened game. They basically played in a downpour for that 6th inning. And this is not me as a Red Sox fan, because the game went the other way. This is me saying as just a fan of the game. The officiating in that series was horrendous.
Yeah, because aren't you supposed to get out of the game once it starts raining?
Well,
or if it's
once it gets to a certain point and the field becomes untenable, it becomes a safety issue, because that's hard-packed clay on top of what they call diamond dust or diamond dirt, right? It's like a dirt clay hybrid mixture, right, that they lay down. Plus, there's some drying agents and stuff out there. The game did not need to go to a 6th inning. It just didn't. Major League Baseball screwed the pooch on it by not not suspending the game because of rain. They could have, at that point, could have pulled the tarp over the diamond, let it rain, and once it stopped raining, did everything that they could to get the game started. Now, there have been instances in the past where the rain has not stopped, and Major League Baseball suspended that game for that day, and they resumed play from the moment that they stopped play the following day, and basically treated it almost like a doubleheader, so to speak. But they didn't do that. But I'm talking about the officiating. The home plate umpire was calling balls on, as you're looking at home plate on the left side of the plate, a good 6 to 12 inches outside the strike zone, was calling it a strike all night long. And it was horrendous, because Garrett Cole was on the mound for the Yankees. And everybody's like, oh, well, he was on the downward spiral, because after they banned the sticky substances for pitchers, his ERA went through the roof, because he wasn't able to put guys out, because he wasn't able to put that spin on the ball. He had a bounce-back game in Houston whenever the Yankees visited the Astros, and he had, I think it was like 6 strikeouts against the Red Sox that night in that rain-shortened game. But it was just a horribly officiated series. The umpiring crew, they need to be ashamed of themselves. They need to go back and look at the tape, and they need to fix that. And I'm not calling for robotic strike zones or anything like that, but they need to do a better job. The following night, there was the Red Sox catcher Christian Vasquez noticed that there was a bright light coming from dead center field, just above the batter's eye in the outfield. Whenever the Red Sox were on were playing on defense and the Yankees were up to bat.
The hell is that noise?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to
go ahead,
force my way through it there, but it was either a laser pointer or it was a recording device of some kind. So I mean, there's they brought it to the umpiring crew's attention, And, it just kind of seemed like any time the Yankees were up to bat, they were they were hitting everything. Excuse me.
You need some water?
Oh no, I'm good for right now. If I need anything, I'll just grab that 300 up there. But dadgum.
Yeah, let me get you some water.
Yeah, give me a bottle of water. But they brought that up to the officiating crew's attention. They didn't do anything about it, and the Yankees handedly beat the Red Sox. I think it was like 9-1 or something crap like that on Sunday night. But something of note. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Something of note that during the Saturday night game, there was a Yankees fan who threw a ball from the stands and hit Alex Verdugo in the back.
Is he just being a douchebag?
Yeah, well, this new generation of Yankees fans has caught the ire of the entirety of Major League Baseball's fans. Because the last time Yankees fans were notable, were notorious for throwing crap from the stands out onto the field were the fans during the 60s. And it was just your typical dumpster fire. Look at us, we're fans of the Yankees, and you're not. I mean, you could almost equate that to the fans of a majority of the fans who go to the games in Philadelphia for the Eagles. And anybody who knows anything about the history of the NFL, during the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, anytime a team went into Philadelphia, especially if it was a divisional rival, like, say, the Dallas Cowboys, the fans in Philadelphia were just horrible. I mean, they would even, like, during the winter, whenever it would snow up there, they would take, like, D-cell batteries and pack them into snowballs and throw them at players on the field.
Didn't they have like a riot every time they would win the Super Bowl?
You mean the one Super Bowl that Philadelphia's managed to win? Yeah. But, I mean, they basically burned a corner of their city down just because they don't know how to act. But
Well, I was talking to a lot of people that are from Philadelphia, and they said it's a shithole anyways.
yeah, I mean, Philadelphia, it's a historical city, and I'm sure it's very beautiful in those historical districts. But for the most part, I mean, it's dirty. I don't like Philadelphia teams for the most part, just because of the fact that the way that their fan bases act. I think that that's classless. But getting back to the Red Sox-Yankees game with this particular incident, this fan was caught almost immediately. And because of the age that we live in as far as social media, and everybody's got a camera, and everybody can live stream, everybody can tweet, everybody can do TikToks, this fan was pointed out immediately, not only to the players on the field, the umpiring crew on the field, but the security detail on the field and in the stands. And he was immediately removed from the stadium, which is what he should have been.
And he's banned for life.
The Yankees and Major League Baseball both issued a lifetime ban to all 30 parks for this particular guy.
Yeah.
So he can no longer purchase tickets in his name. And if he is caught attending a game at any of the 30 Major League Baseball parks, whether they are current parks or parks that have yet to be built, if he is caught attending a Major League Baseball game, he will be hit with a criminal trespassing charge and thrown back in jail. And it serves this guy right. Now, people that watch us or listen to us know that I'm a Red Sox fan, and they would be probably quick to point out that in 2018, a fan who had a seat in the Green Monster seats threw a ball from the Green Monster and managed to hit Giancarlo Stanton rounding second base during his home run trot. At the time, I was like, that's an impressive throw, because at the time, yes, it was an impressive throw, because basically this guy from past the warning track managed to hit a moving target in the infield. But that is still a classless move. Still think that particular fan needs to not be allowed to attend a Major League Baseball game. Watch that shit from home. But as far as purchasing a ticket or being allowed back into any of the 30 ballparks, absolutely not. I don't, and I had pointed this out to, to my girlfriend and her sister when I took everybody, I took my kids and everybody to the Astros game a week and a half ago when they were playing the A's.
Yeah, it was a week and a half
Okay.
ago.
So, Matt Olson,
Sounded like you tooted.
I know it did. It doesn't even have a bouquet. I was kind of disappointed there.
Yeah.
But Matt Olson hit a home run for the Athletics, and everybody was booing, and then everybody started cheering, and everybody's like, so everybody that it's in our section's like, well, what the hell happened? Well, an Astros fan, got that ball and threw it back out onto the field. Okay. Well, I get the whole, hey, look at me, I'm being a super fan for my team, and it's just a huge act of defiance. If you don't want the damn ball, give it to a kid. Because, that kid's not going to care who hit the damn home run. That's a home run ball. That's a souvenir.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's just a trash move. It's Bush League. And I mean, because look around where you're sitting. I guarantee you that there's going to be at least one kid sitting in those stands. I mean, even if, say for example, if I'm at a game where the Yankees are playing, if a Yankee player hits a home run and I just happen to be the soul that caught that ball, as a Red Sox fan, I'm not going to physically touch the ball because there's not enough holy water to get rid of that burn. I'm going to look for a kid in the stands that might be wearing a Yankee pinstripes jersey. I'll open my glove and be like, "There you go, kid. Grab the ball." Give it to a kid.
Wouldn't you have to burn the glove too?
No, because I can put oil in the glove.
Okay.
And in my mind's eye, it came off a Yankee bat. I caught as far as I'm out. As far as I'm concerned, that douche nozzle's out.
You know what? It just reminds me of that one scene from Basketball where Mr. October did his last home run and everything.
Right. He's
and
like,
Coop caught the ball.
He's like,
I don't have your damn ball.
He goes, never could find that person that caught that home run ball. I sure would have liked to have had it. And he's like, yeah, and I'm the one that caught it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That movie was entertaining on so many different levels.
Yeah. It's one of the last bastions of good comedy.
Yeah.
We don't have stuff like that anymore.
No, because everybody's too woke. But
actually, I was thinking of this to myself here recently. We don't have that kind of movie comedies anymore, but we do have a lot of TikTok and stuff like that are basically like the old.
It's like the old
comedy.
Vine app.
Yeah.
It's the old Vine app. I mean, everybody's doing it for the Vine. Now we're doing it for the TikTok. But
yeah.
And to me that's tragic because TV series is like the Office. They just wouldn't work on today's TV. They wouldn't. And even to an extent, Friends wouldn't work on today's television.
That didn't work for me either.
Well, I'm a fan of The Office. And
it was too slow for me.
Well, I get it because that deep cerebral type comedy it gets over a lot of people's heads, so I understand. It's like baseball's a smart person's sport, so it's whatever. Moving on.
Dick.
But
no, I like the obscure comedies like Breaking In, to where you have to actually or Naked Gun.
Yeah, the Naked Gun. I mean, it was a lot of slapstick.
There's a lot of stuff you had to pay attention to.
Airplane was the same way. Both of them movies.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you had to pay attention to it. If you didn't, you wouldn't be able to get a lot of the jokes that are in it.
Right.
Like when OJ stabbed a melon. I mean, I was laughing my ass off.
Right. But getting back to baseball a little bit, it just classless.
It really shows how much of a douchebag you really are with something like that.
Yeah. And Alex Verdugo is one of those Renaissance players that you don't really see a whole lot anymore. He engages with the fans in the stands because he appreciates the fact that they're there and he's getting paid to play a game. He'll have conversations even with with fans of the team that they're playing against. And he'll joke around with them. He's been mic'd up a couple of times where he's talking to fans in the stands. in between innings. And he's a very popular player. He's got a great personality. But if you could read lips and you watched the telecast, I mean, the number of F bombs that Alex Verdugo was dropping in the direction of that fan was it was impressive. And I mean, even if it was like, you know, and again, like I said, it stated before, even if it was a Red Sox fan that threw and hit a Yankees player, ban that guy,
Yeah.
100%. It's a no class Bush League thing to do. There's no place for it. You stop play on the field. You stop the game. You have at that point directly intervened into the pace of play. You need to be removed. Absolutely, 100%. You are done.
Yeah.
You have lost your right to attend a Major League Baseball game in person. 100%.
There goes
So-
a shot. I gotta stop saying yeah.
But tonight, the Red Sox, they've gone to play Toronto. Now, Toronto, with the whole COVID restrictions that Canada still seems to think that are required, Toronto has not been able to play in Toronto for the last 2 seasons. They have been able to use a baseball facility in Buffalo, New York. So the Red Sox they started a 3-game series.
Is it really a baseball team though?
Yeah.
You sure?
Dude, Toronto, they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be scary. I mean, they're scary now, just their pitching staff is for shit. I mean, honestly, their pitching staff just it doesn't give them. As far as offensively, they've got Bo Bichette, they've got Vladimir Guerrero Jr.,
I just like
they've
the
got
Boba.
George Springer. I mean, these. I mean, it's a scary loaded batting order. And I mean, yeah, the standing their win-loss record right now is 48-42. And I believe they're in 4th place in the division. But tonight, whatever slump that the Red Sox were in here the last few games, I think they figured something out tonight because they hung. It's right now. It's the top of the 3rd. Boston's up to bat. They've got a runner on first with 2 outs, and it's already 11-0 Boston.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they hit 3 home runs in the first inning alone. One of those was a grand slam by Hunter Renfroe, and I'm just like, wow, And so it's yeah. I mean, even this prospect that they called up, Boston called up by the name of Jarren Duran. I mean, this guy, I think they called him up maybe just a little bit too early, but he managed to hit his first major league home run tonight in the first inning. And it was I think it was a solo shot, but I mean, his first major league home run, first major league RBI kind of knocked him out with the same swing. But he managed to get his first major league hit against Garrett Cole Saturday night in the Bronx. But which in itself, when Garrett Cole's on, and he's hard to hit anyway. But he managed to score his first major league hit. So it's going to be kind of fun to see what they do with his career, whether or not he's going to get the Michael Chavis treatment where he keeps getting called up and then put back down in the minors. But right now, yeah, so we'll see what happens with this series. Hopefully the Red Sox bullpen doesn't do what it did in the Bronx and kind of implode and give up leads or make games unreachable. But I doubt very seriously that we're going to get a shutout out of this. But it'd be nice to see us actually kind of like win a series because we've lost the last 3 going into tonight. But with all that being said,
Here's a weird top. Weird top story that happened yesterday. It was published yesterday by Fox News.
yeah, what's up?
Athletes to sleep on anti-sex cardboard beds at Olympic Games amidst COVID. The beds are allegedly designed to collapse under the weight of fornication.
Yeah, okay. Now, behind that story, so a little bit of background. The Olympic Village,
Oh yeah, yeah.
they,
It's
they
like
have an
the
inordinate amount of condoms available within the Olympic Village. And the NBC, I think
that's
it
like
was,
any kind of deployment that we went on. They had condoms there, but you weren't allowed to have sex.
well, no. And here's the thing.
That it still happened.
Right, but here's the thing. In the Olympic Village, you have all of these elite athletes. I mean, they are absolute specimens, right? Athletes from different countries are getting together, and there is just an inordinate amount of sex occurring within the Olympic Village. It's kind of like a, you know what's going on, but
Big.
nobody wants to talk about it. But NBC chose to spotlight it a little bit during the last Summer Olympics that they had, and
Kind of want to go to the game now.
you know.
We could do curling.
I
You
don't,
don't.
I,
You don't
I
have.
honestly
You don't have to
don't
fornicate.
think.
It's more or less just for me.
I don't think that curling athletes or curlers are able to smash figure skaters or speed skaters or even downhill skiers or I don't think there's a lot of that going on because you've got these finely tuned athletes that have spent a majority of their lives dedicated to their craft, and then here you got these barflies that come in off of trivia night with some brooms and a couple of rocks. I don't see that happening. I just don't.
Well, how about this? We still do it, and you get to stand by and see me fail hundreds of times.
Okay, I'm glad you went with the whole fail angle because I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and watch you.
Succeed.
What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say smash because that's just.
No, you just see me fail.
It's like that. It's like that episode of Family Guy.
But everybody likes a train
No,
wreck.
no, let me finish.
Okay.
It's like that episode of Family Guy where um, uh, Lois invites her entire family over to the house for Thanksgiving, and so Peter comes up with this scheme to get put in jail for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And because they're not the first ones to come up with that scheme, the jail is full, so they get sent to Rhode Island State Prison. and so Peter looks across the way. They're all four sitting in the cell. And Peter looks across the way and goes, look, it's going to be fun here. Look, those guys over there are playing leapfrog, but they're not jumping. And he's not nearly high enough to get up. What are they doing? And then Quagmire looks over at him and goes, Peter, please stop watching that. No, that I don't know why, but
I could actually
that
see.
whole scene just popped into my head. I'm like, oh God, no.
No, even better. This is back when I was dating this one chick, and
She pegged
My-
you. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
not that one, not that one, not that one. Anyways, we're not going off of that. No, my neighbor.
Stranger danger. Stranger.
My neighbor's husband came up to me and was like, hey, not for nothing, and I applaud what you do, but could you have your girl be a little bit quieter because my wife thought you were killing a chick in your room? I was like, well, kind of was. But, yeah. I'll get her a paw gag, no big deal.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
But I think that's all the sports news for this week. Because most of the stuff isn't going to happen until next week for the Olympics. And
Yeah. Game 6 of the finals is tonight, so we'll find out if it gets pushed on Game 7. And to me, when you get to the postseason for any of the professional sports, those are the two most beautiful words in professional sports. Game 7. I mean, because at that point, there is no tomorrow. There is no next game. It's all hands on deck. I mean, the entire bench is available to play because at that point, everybody's all in. And you really see who wants it more. And that's just my take on it. You know, Game 7 is the two most beautiful words in professional sports. I really do. I really do believe that. Now, if the NFL were to adopt like a best of 7 series, I mean, on top of the
God.
fact that that would just make the playoffs horrendously long.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was like, I
can
can't
you
stand
imagine?
that's the only thing I can't stand about like hockey and soccer and all the other sports. You know, in the NFL, you just get okay, it's done.
Yeah,
But the other
if you have a
sports,
shit game in the NFL at the wrong time, you are done. You are going to the house and you are playing golf the next weekend.
yeah.
But I mean,
The other ones, you could have like a draw, like soccer, you could have like 3 draws, but you still be in the competition.
yeah, it hockey, basketball, and baseball. I mean, that's where it's at because you see. I mean, they play a series of games, and it's you have to consistently and constantly evolve and change your play and because you know that other team is making their adjustments. If you beat the shit out of them the night before, they're going to make adjustments and they're going to come at you with a little bit of fury the following night. You may still end up beating them, but you will. You know, you're going to know that you were in a fight because that other team made their adjustments. Baseball, one of the reasons why I love baseball is because I mean, unless it's a blowout, a lot of times it goes right down to the absolute wire. And sometimes we get that bonus baseball where we're playing extra innings and everybody's like, well, we paid for 9 innings and we're getting 10, 11, 12, 13 innings. To me, that's where it's at, especially when you get to things like the World Series. You get like the Game 6 or the Game 7s, and you get that high intensity drama. Everybody's either on the edge of their seats or they're not using the seats that they're paying for because they're standing up. Me, for example, whenever the Red Sox are playing in the postseason, if it's a deciding game or if it's any of the 7 games of the World Series, I'm pacing absolutely back and forth in the living room. I'm not sitting down. I'm just not. And I'm yelling at the TV. You know, like Game 6 of the World Series in 2018, David Price got the start for Boston. What's he do in the first inning? He gives up a home run because I'm like, oh crap, because nobody really had any kind of respect for David Price because, I mean, he'd pitch out of his backside every once in a while and kind of twirl this gem, but you never knew what version of David Price was showing up to the ballpark for that game. So it's like, is he going to be the David Price that comes in and absolutely slices up that batting order, or is he going to be the guy that drags his gas can out to the hump and burns the place down? You know, and and so I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to remember who hit that home run off of him. I think it was. I cannot remember. The dude's got a red beard. I cannot think of his name off the top of my head. But
Is it kind of like a Jerry Garcia? If you actually went to go see the Grateful Dead, you didn't know what kind of Jerry Garcia.
are you going to get the
that
Jerry
guy?
that's playing everything off tempo, or are you going to get the guy that sounds like the studio musician? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. But when he gave up that first inning home run, I'm yelling at the TV. I'm like, no, not this version of David Price. Are you kidding me? And I'm yelling at the TV. And my dad's there. My son Colin, my son Chauncey were there. They, they were just looking at me, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? And then after that, he was lights out. It's like he had that small little hiccup in the first inning, but then he pitched, I think it was 6 or 7 innings that night. And he ultimately got the win for the game, but then obviously Chris Sale comes in to finish the game out in the ninth, and he gets those he gets those 3 all important outs, including the strikeout of Manny the douchebag Machado. But past all that, man, I really don't see a whole lot of sports news. So I mean, it's relatively been kind of a slow week. And Danny Santana just hit a solo home run to make it 12-0 Red Sox.
And we already talked that what's his name, Richard Swanson.
Richard Sherman.
Yeah, Sherman. He pleaded not guilty.
Yeah, that's not going to go well for him. And unless he gets one of these like absolute Johnny Cochran reincarnated type lawyers that gets him off on a technicality, I see this guy getting. It could go one of two ways, and the NFL really needs to be aware of how they handle this. Um, if he comes out with a guilty verdict, or if he pleads down, the NFL needs to hand out a suspension. Like, look, dude, you are suspended for the first 8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, because you got to basically get your freaking head right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's one of those things I don't want to know what happened with this shit, but he flipped out.
He did. He flipped out. Now, and here's the thing. Regardless as to whether or not some of these professional, and this is going to be my soapbox portion of the episode. Okay, and you thought that the fans throwing stuff onto the field was it. No, no, no. Whether these players, regardless of the salary that they make, whether they choose to acknowledge it or not, professional athletes are role models to kids. They are. That is just it. Because when a kid looks at a player, regardless of what team they play for, how much they make, that player is idolized or looked up to by a kid somewhere.
Yeah.
They are a role model. Even if they don't want to be a role model, they are looked up as such. You need to be held to a higher standard. Once you step into that professional athlete role, you need to be beyond reproach.
I wonder
Absolutely.
how many kids cried after they found out Michael Vick killed puppies.
You know, Michael Vick didn't do anything for his career.
No, but
Absolutely.
he still got a career after he got
He did. Now,
which was ridiculous.
He did what he was supposed to. He served his time in prison. He did his rehabilitation. And he did what the league required him to do to be reinstated. He was given a shot to play by several teams. And for the most part, he stepped in and he did his job.
Yeah, you kind of got to give it from that one.
From an athletic talent standpoint, Michael Vick did his job after after his crime. He atoned for his sin for the most part. There are a lot of people that are not going to be able to forgive him because of what he did to dogs. While I would like to say that I am, willing to forgive and forget, the guy has been through the ringer. Okay. Now, am I going to invite him over for dinner? I don't know. I mean, honestly, can't say that. I can't say that I would. I can't say that I wouldn't. Because the guy did he paid his penance, at least in the eyes of man-made justice was concerned. It's not my place to judge where he's going to spend an eternity. It's not my place to say that he is or is not a douchebag. I mean, but getting back to my point, these people are role models, and they need to understand that they are looked at through a different prism than everybody else. Their lives are constantly being scrutinized under a microscope of the 24-hour news cycle and social media.
Yeah, anytime you're popular like that, you're being scrutinized.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's just kind of like, okay, so my kids, they wanted to watch that new Space Jam movie this weekend.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want anything to do with it, just simply because it's LeBron James, and I have no use for LeBron James as a person. Okay. He cries way too much. He thinks too much of himself. Athletically, he acts well on the court because, well, I mean, if you breathe wrong in his direction, he collapses and screams foul, right? So, I mean, that's a great act. As far as acting on the screen, not so much. Now, I made my boys watch the original Space Jam with Michael Jordan. Far and away a superior film to the sequel, which is usually the case in Hollywood. The first first, actually, probably good half of the movie for this new Space Jam movie, Warner Brothers spent a lot of time stroking LeBron James off, like ego and everything, right? The movie as a whole, it was an okay movie. It had its feel good moments, and it had its like, it had those moments of like cringe, you know. And then I saw a meme today.
With Nolan Ryan?
No.
Oh,
well, no, I
what
did see the
said?
Nolan Ryan one where he took the line drive off of Bo Jackson's bat and then was right back into the game pitching.
Yeah.
And then LeBron James is having to be carried off by like four guys with a leg cramp. No, but the meme that I saw was it had Michael Jordan in his Toon Squad uniform and then had LeBron James in his Toon Squad uniform. Michael Jordan in the original Space Jam went 22 for 22 from the field. LeBron James went 4 for 5. Even the directors of the movie knew who the real GOAT was. I'm just like, yeah, see, that's where it's at. And, I mean, I enjoyed the movie from the standpoint of the Looney Tunes, from Bugs Bunny, Lola Bunny, Porky Pig, and everything like that. Porky Pig, and there was a scene in the movie where Porky Pig was given the opportunity to freestyle in a rap battle, right? And Porky Pig spit some fire. I'm talking about, and he was laying it down, right? That was a cool scene. It made me laugh.
Yeah, who does I think he still does the voice. You know who does the voices for all the Looney Tunes now, right?
Not now.
Mel
No.
Blancs' son.
Really, Mel Blanc's his kid, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. See, all right. So props, keep it in the family. But along that same line of that argument, where kids, role models, superstars, athletes are role models. Even these Olympians, they're role models. People like Megan Rapone or LeBron James, they're looked up to by little girls or little boys that want to play basketball or little girls that want to play soccer. But these athletes take it upon themselves to push an agenda that is just, to me, there's no place for it in professional sports. If you want to be that way, fine. Like I've said before in previous episodes, there's a time and place for your opinion to be voiced. But when you're on the field or you're on the court, that's not the time, because you're at work and I'm paying your wage. You work for me when you're on that court. And there's even a little snippet, like a little film snippet, a soundbite in the opening credits of the new Space Jam movie where LeBron James is quoted as saying, "I'm not going to just shut up and dribble." Right? I caught that, and I'm like, immediately, this is gonna turn into a political statement. Warner Brothers, to their credit, did what they could to keep that from happening. Overall, Space Jam, I'm going to give it, or Space Jam, A New Legacy. I'll give it 3.5 carrots out of 5. I mean, it was a mediocre movie, and I think it could have been better.
Well, you just gotta think it's more or less for the kids.
It is.
And
It's a kids movie, but the parents are watching this movie with the kids, and a lot of times the parents who are watching this movie watched the original. So there is an incredibly high bar to hit. Warner Brothers fell absolutely flat. They aimed for the stars, and I think they might have hit the 4th floor of a 10-story building. So, that being what it is, I think that's it for this week's episode.
Yep, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you all for watching or listening. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below.
Give us reviews on Apple Podcast. Give us follows on Spotify. And as soon as we get our Patreon set up, follow us on that.
It's set
It is?
up.
It's up and running?
Yeah, but we don't do anything on it. I need to give you the stuff for it so you can work with it and everything. Because the deal with Patreon is people can subscribe. I just want to do it with $1.
Isn't Patreon kind of like where you do like the live stuff? You can do live
You
streaming.
can. Okay.
I think that if we're going to do live streaming, like for example, like with our sports stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, if something significant sports wise is happening, I will jump on Patreon and I'll do a live stream.
There's a small problem with it, and I still need to get the programming and everything for it. Is I want us to get get it
Or
to
maybe we
where
can set it up on Discord.
we can set it up with this.
Yeah, we can do a Discord.
There's also there's a lot of stuff that if we wanted to do stuff with our constituents,
Mhm.
I can't believe I said that.
Constituents.
There we go.
Look at you.
There's movie things
Yeah.
to where
if
we can
you
watch
wanted to get
movies
fancy
together.
with the word, you could say constituency.
Yeah, there's movies that we could watch together. There's like movie apps.
Yeah.
I know Dan Cumming does it a lot with scary movies because he has the whole scary movie stuff, and I think Kevin Smith does it a couple of times with.
Yeah, like especially he does his Marvel reviews. I remember watching his Marvel review whenever he was doing his take on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Mhm.
And he absolutely, legitimately cried
Oh, that boy is.
during the funeral
Kevin
scene.
Smith is one of those people that
He
you
is,
have to meet only because you just don't realize how genuine he is.
dude. He's an actual treasure. I mean,
I mean, and he's a hugger.
he's a film buff, obviously, but he is a comic book nerd.
He's very sensitive. You should.
Speaking of movie stuff, Lionsgate acquired the global rights for Clerks 3.
Oh, they're actually going to put it out.
The Clerks 3 is in production.
Oh, okay.
Now we just need to see a sequel to Mallrats with the Mallrats kids.
Yeah. Which they already did with the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yeah, the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, that was funny because you had Harley Quinn Smith, and then the little kids, that was Jay Muse's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was funny, but I mean, it was very well done. I enjoyed the reboot.
And
the fact that they had so many cameos from these A-list actors in the reboot, just because they're like, snoochies boochies, we want to be in this movie.
You know, it's funny. Well, two things that's funny. They have one of his spoof movies. It's one of his movies, but it's when he wanted to divvy into kind of the horror drama.
Talking about Tusk?
Tusk.
Yeah.
You know the girls at the convenience store.
Right.
One was his daughter.
Yeah.
The other one is Johnny Depp's.
And this is the nerd portion of Nerd Sports.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up because I had talked to Michael Kurtz today,
Uh-huh.
and
Is he upset that I don't call him back anymore?
no, I did tell him though that we do want to have him back on the show, but oh, look at that! There goes the shutout. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. scores in the bottom of the fourth. It's still 12-1 Red Sox, but he was like, yeah, he was watching the Who We Are episode, and he goes. He goes, you got some long-ass episodes, but it wasn't until I was on the show that I realized how easy it is to let time get away from you. And I'm like, yeah. I said, we really need to work on that. But
Actually, an hour long.
hour long is going to be average, but
Yeah.
with that being said, I think we can get it in just under the wire here. But I'm Johnny Skelton.
I'm David Dickerman.
And keep it classy, San Diego. Y'all be good, and we'll see you next week.
And thank you for watching.